First we had the SL-F1F, and now we have the TT-F1F. Or CCAM, of course. Let's crack on. Hello and welcome to another MrBetaByte video, and this one's a little bit different insofar as we are looking at the TT-F1F Sony tuning units, the companion units for the SL-F1F, and this is CCAM, which is quite unusual. I've been looking for these machines for quite a while, but yeah, this is actually a repair for Gillum, and yeah, we've got the F1F working fine, and after a few minor teething problems. And you'll remember that I did say about the double-sided printed circuit board that it didn't necessarily have through connections from the top to the bottom. Well, it does. So my initial issues with it cutting out after I changed that capacitor were a little bit odd, and we will sort of maybe look at that. I mean, we'll see how we get on. It's been off for quite a while now, so it'll be interesting to see what it's like when we power it back on with the TT-F1F. But yeah, so just to prove that, I have the board that I put the orange chip on for the end sensors, and you'll see here I've got a grounding pad, and this grounding pad looks to be totally isolated other than for the 3 holes you can see there where that goes through to the bottom of the board. So let's just give that a test. So I've got the meter, and let's go on the top there. And then underneath. There we go. So you can see we've actually got continuity there between the top and the bottom, even though there's no physical connection, you can see on the top, to ground. So there are actually through connections there. Now, I don't know why I thought that wasn't the case. I'm sure somebody mentioned way back when that these boards didn't have through connections, and you had to make sure you had solder on the top and the bottom to make that connection. But no, I mean, maybe earlier boards didn't. I don't know. Maybe that's a C9 thing. I can't remember what machine it was specifically. I just remember somebody saying that early double-sided boards in Sony's didn't have the through connector, but obviously they do, so that's really cool. And obviously quite expensive to do back in the day. I do remember going to a local PCB circuit board manufacturer back in the 80s, and the cost was like prohibitively a lot more to actually have a double-sided board. And of course now we've got like 4-layer, 5-layer, multiple layer printed circuit boards with traces in between the actual material itself of the board. It's just amazing, really. But yeah, that's really cool. So that sort of put my mind at ease about the F1F, and it's that chip that I changed. But yeah, just a little bit concerned that it was a bit intermittent to start off with. But like I say, I mean, I've run it a lot since, and it's been absolutely faultless. And like I say, it's been off for a while now, so it'll be interesting to see what it's like from cold. Whether we might have more capacitor issues, or I don't know, but we'll see. So let's turn our attention to the TT-F1F, and let's just get this. Let's get the F1F out of the way. The other thing as well, while I think about it, the capacitors. The capacitors I actually took out, and you'll notice there's actually more than just the 5 that I took out, because I took ones out of the other board, although I have more to do for the other broken machine. It's actually quite fun to test these, so yeah, let's do that next. So here it goes. I'm not going to say too much about these results. Yeah, it's pretty awful. So these are 10 microfarad 16 volt. Second one, terrible. Third one, I mean, look at that ESR. That's pretty impressive. Gosh, that's awful. Yeah, it's pretty bad. It's pretty awful as well. And that is actually the 1 microfarad 50 volt one. And I mean, it's okay, but it's interesting. So yeah, okay. So definitely worth changing those capacitors. It's just those 5, 10 microfarad capacitors seem to make a huge difference to the the SL-F1. So yeah, well worth doing. And yeah, I mean, I suppose I've proved it really, that you just have to change them. So yeah, let's crack on. So one thing I didn't do in the last video, which I said I would do, is actually change that loading belt. And I do have some belts from Domberg. They're long since sold out of these, I think. So let's just get that changed. That belt is not particularly well. I mean, it's okay, it's still driving, but it's just not great. So let's change that. Just get the square section correct on it. I mean, it should sort itself out, but oh, that's not good. That is actually, the bottom bearings just dropped out. So I'm going to have to do that. Joy. This has been in heat. Because that's usually what sends those to the bin, those motors. But yeah, we should be able to glue in the bottom bearing. So, well, I suppose we ought to do that next, really. Although I'd rather like to get the tape out. I tell you what, we'll do the TT-F1F first, then we'll power it up, and then we'll change that. We'll fix that bottom bearing. So yeah, let's crack on. So tops off, and it's all looking pretty good. No rust on the screening can there, which is always good. And it's dead easy to take the top off this. It's a bit different to the F1F. Just screw each side, lift it off. It's simple as that. So let's get the actual power supply out. Okay, so is it my imagination, or is this completely different? Or I say completely quite different to the PAL version? Because there's this. Oh, I don't remember that ever being a thing on a TT-F1 UB. Oh, okay. Well, I suppose I can compare the part number. So we've got an SR-12F, so it is different. Interesting. That's really cool. You learn something new every day, don't you? Every day's a school day. Let's crack on. Yes. So I seem to remember I have to take these out anyway, because otherwise the whole thing won't come off. And then these should then be able to maybe open this up. Okay, well, I'll take the screws out this side. Okay, so that's that. This is not wanting to budge. Ah, there we go. No, oh, right. There's some stray glue. This glue is fantastic. Okay, so that can go. Let's pull this out. So, the two caps we are particularly interested in are those two there, and I think they're 350 volts something. I can't remember the value now. I want to say 4.7, but I don't think they are. I can't remember now. It's a while since I've done one of these. Yeah, 4.7. Sort of the usual Sony thing. But where things become fun is, one, you get covered in silicone grease, heat sink compound, but two, you've got this plastic cover which looks like it should slide off but doesn't. So what you need to do, or what I do, is I just try and lever it off. There we go. It's pretty easy. Oh, I forgive you. I forgive you for that glue, because there's no glue around here. Just shows it's not really needed, but that's really interesting. So yeah, so those two caps, if they short, these two, they will blow these two transistors, and that's not good. They're not hideously expensive these days, but it's just getting good ones. So yeah, it's well worth sort of just checking these are okay, and that goes for the for all of these TT units. It's just not worth the risk. Get these changed, and yeah, you should be good to go. So yeah, let's get these removed. I'm going to show, at least in part, getting this can out. It's a bit of a battle on these, and it's a bit of a battle to get them open as well. I know a lot of people just Dremel them open, but I tend to melt the solder. So yeah, let's give it a go. I've got my massive Duratool, was it 100 watt? I think it is 100 watts soldering iron, which is very good for this. I think we might have enough heat in it. Okay, so I didn't show it all, mainly because I used 2 irons. I used my desoldering gun as well, and basically sucked away all the excess solder, because using braid you get through so much and it's not cheap. So I'm going to try the same trick on the actual case. So there we have it. Yeah, because you have a huge amount of solder on the back side of this as well that connects it to this, and it's also quite difficult to pry this up, because this is, the tolerances are so tight on the edge of the board that it actually strikes the edges of the board. When I put this back in, this has got quite hot as well. When I put this back in, basically I'm not going to put it in the can. I don't know, nah, probably not. What I might do is just put the top can on, but with a gap. Might do it that way, just to give it some shielding. But when I've put these in with nothing on, I've never had a problem. Never had any sort of noticeable noise problem or anything like that, so I don't know. But so I suppose it's designed like that for a reason. But yeah, sometimes I wonder if it's just to stop you trying to repair it. So yeah, let's crack on. I didn't put the can on. I'm just going to leave it like that. I can't really see that this is going to introduce noise in the critical areas of like video output. Possibly in the RF, the tuning side of things, may well interrupt that, but of course there is no analog TV anymore, so I'm not too worried about that. I changed the fuse as well, and of course I changed all the caps, so we'll have a quick look at those in a minute. So this all needs to go back in, and power supply changed to capacitors, which certainly did need doing. I mean, this is getting pretty close to blowing the power supply, so well worth doing. And yeah, I'm just really pleased. I've given it a bit of a clean out as well. Bit of smoking going on with the plastic there. I think this might have been in heat, in a hot atmosphere. I know this has been put in a backpack. I might get mine out actually, because they are really cool. I'm going to do a video on a modified backpack, and actually record some video. I'm going to go out and about. They're going to let me out. So yeah, that's to come. But yeah, let's take a look at these caps. So here goes. Yeah, I mean that's pretty low. It's amazing how well these power supplies do work with such poor capacitors or capacitance. Oh gosh, really? That has to be just a bad contact. Let's try that again. Nope. That is, yeah, and it's well and truly in. So that has expired. I find that really hard to believe. So the power supply will work quite nicely. Sort of. With them relatively like completely gone. So this is from the CAN DC DC AC. It's an inductor. That must be wrong. Capacitor 193 220. So it's dropped in value. It did get really very cooked taking it out. 132. So it's dropped a tiny bit maybe. Not too worried about that. It seemed okay actually. Relatively. ESR was good. That one seems good. 10 microfarad, 63 volt. Looking very much like I didn't really have to. Well, I say that. There was leakage on the leg of one of the capacitors, and you just don't want that. It's the power supply is such low current. So I think that's 100. Yeah, 100. So it's dropped a bit. Yeah, sounds good. And yeah, you just don't want to start loading up the outputs because of a leaky capacitor. 2.3 ohm ESR on a 10 microfarad capacitor. That one's not quite so clever. It was, which one was it? It was this one. You can see there where it's leaked. Probably just about make that out. And yeah, not what you want. I think that's on the output side of the circuit as well, so it would have loaded things down as it started leaking more. So yeah, I think that was worth doing. And yeah, it's very fluxy. I need to clean that off, but it is well soldered, and even took out the connections from the backup batteries as well. So get this back together, and we'll give it a test, I suppose. Let's crack on. Actually, a few days on from the last segment. I've been busy sorting out an N1700 and a few other bits and pieces that I had to get out quick and completely forgot about. So, yeah, I've taken the front cover off, and it's all a bit strange. Yeah, because I had to glue that, didn't I? Looks like I've got some smoking from the glue there, which is not great. I don't know how that becomes so bad. I mean, it's no problem. Clean it off, but yeah, has it been glued before? Maybe, because there's glue on the inside. This has been glued before. Oh, so maybe that wasn't altogether me. I was very careful. I only used a very small amount of glue, to be fair. Seems to be a lot more glue in there than I actually put. But anyway, we shall give it a clean. Yeah, I mean, it's cleaning up beautifully. Yeah, these plastic fronts, they can be quite fragile at the best of times. I mean, I know UPS are not the gentlest of carrier, but yeah. I'm not altogether surprised, as it does look as if it's been repaired before, so I don't feel quite so guilty now. Because I am pretty careful with things like super glue fogging. I've been there too many times before, the dim and distant past. But yeah, it's looking a heck of a lot better. Super. So, channel change buttons are completely had it, but I'm not going to worry about those on this. I'm sure they're never going to be used. Yeah. So just making sure that switch is in the right place for this. Just press that in. And put all the screws back in. There are a lot of screws. I'd say there's a lot of screws. There's a surprising number, I think, is the way to put it. All back together. Might have noticed I put the black screws in there. They do not live there. It's just literally they got in the wrong pile. They actually live in the bottom, so took those out. Also noticed I had a short one of these. That was from the power supply. The two screws that go in the side for the end cap. So they need to be short ones. Well, I say they need to be. I think you could get away with the long ones, but it just guarantees that there's not going to be anything wrong touching inside. I also had problems. Those seem to work. That's fine. Also had slight problems putting the clock panel back in the into the front, and transistor was flat. Sort of fouling where the screw mount is, so I must have knocked that when I was doing everything, and yeah, there we go. Just really threw me, because it's just like, why isn't this sitting properly? And lucky I didn't push too hard. So next thing is getting this back together. could almost do with taking the tape out, because there is that orange wire that I'm not too happy with how it's sitting. So I'm just wondering. Yeah, I was looking for these the other day, and these are the front buttons, button membrane in inverted commas. There you go. For Sony VTC 6500s, and I couldn't find them anywhere. And of course, I'd used it. I thought these were the gels that I used to dim the VU meters when you replace them with modern LEDs. So yeah, I need to get this tape out, and yeah, well, I suppose one way to do it would be to test this. Yeah, let's crack on. Okay, I just cleaned around the socket because it was so mucky. So, time to see if we're going to have a part 3. Power button in. So, yay. A little bit of wear on that display, but yeah, so that's absolutely fine. Okay, so let's eject the tape. And something is not happy. Oh, we had that problem, didn't we, with the motor? Yeah, I remember. The bottom dropped out the motor. Right, so we need to look at that. That's fine. Yeah, so if you get that sort of problem where it's sort of struggling, it's the bottom of the bottom bearing of the motor that drops out. So we'll get that motor out and sort it, and try and work out what I'm going to do with this orange wire. I think I've got it the wrong side of the plastic assembly, to be honest, but it's just not ideal there. I mean, it'll probably be okay. No, it won't. See where it's fouling? Might not let this go down, but I think it goes the other side behind here. So yeah, let's crack on. So let's have a look at this orange wire. It should be the other side, I'm sure. So I've already freed off the other side. 2 tabs there. Same on the other side. Drop this down. And then I've got to get this back out without breaking it. I do wonder if maybe using a screwdriver might be a bit better. I see why I took the one side off now in part 1. Just because it is a bit nerve-wracking taking that out. Right, so it goes in there under the deck. I think I did try to... No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't at all. It goes here. So there it is. Probably edited out a whole load of me fumbling about with this to get it back in, but it probably was a load of my arm and hands and stuff in the way, so yeah, apologies for that. But yeah, that's fairly good. It lacks finesse, but it's where it should be and not going to foul. So still nervous about this ribbon, especially as that hinge sort of finally gave up the ghost. But yeah, that's all good. So next thing is the lacing motor. So let's crack on with that. Okay, so here goes. I can't remember how long the leads are for these. I haven't done that many on an F1, to be honest. But it does seem to be becoming a bit of a thing that these do. Does look okay, actually. Got plenty of room. Yeah, so you can see there, it's just totally dropped out. So yeah, it's just expansion and contraction over time, and plastic goes bad, and yeah. Yeah, you can actually see the crack in the plastic there. There's a little crack there. So what I'll do is I'll put some super glue actually on the outer rim and then press this in, and we should be good. Get it back out. Let's crack on. Okay, so I think my plan is to get a little bit of super glue and just put a bit much probably, just a little bit around the very bottom of this plastic ring. And then center that up. Don't want it to get glued. Maybe I will put just a bit on there. I've got a couple of seconds to get this pressed in. I'm just nervous that if I get it wrong, it will get glued in the wrong place, and knowing my luck, I will get it wrong. So just really pushing that as hard as I can. Tiny bit loose. Spilled out, which is not necessarily a bad thing as long as it doesn't get in the center shaft, but not convinced that is quite right. Still hasn't set, so we're okay. I might end up having to change the motor. It doesn't feel quite right. Yeah, that side is fine. This motor does not feel good. I just wonder if maybe I might have damaged it fiddling about with it. I mean, it could well be possibly a bearing issue as well, i.e. the bearing itself is bad. I suppose we can give it a try and just see. It's easy enough to actually take out the connectors down there, 2-pin one there, so it's easy enough to get out if you want to take it out. But to me that feels a bit, I don't know, a bit tight maybe. Anyway, I'm going to give that super glue a bit of time to cure, and then, I mean, the ride height looks right, but yeah, this is fine, if not a little bit dry. So I might lube that up while I'm about it. Let's crack on. Well, I've put two component legs on connector. It does actually seem absolutely fine, so I'm happy with that. Because I can't really see much, but hopefully you can hear that's running fine. So okay, well, we got away with that. Like I said, I thought I might have damaged the brushes, but it just seems a little bit on the tight side. But yeah, I've lubricated this with the good old silicone high performance grease. So yeah, brilliant. Let's crack on. So let's get the motor back in. It should just drop in quite nicely, because we've not moved anything. And I probably need to move that pad with the super glue on, otherwise I'm going to put my hand on it and glue myself to it, which would be truly hilarious and great fun. Whoops, don't want to do that. Okay. There we go. That's back on. So let's put the belt back on, and I'm just going to give it just a little bit longer. I did put a tiny bit, I know it's not really the right grease, but a tiny bit of the silicone grease on the top bearing, and that seems to have released it a bit. I don't know. It's yeah, we'll see. So I suppose the next thing we need to do is we'll get the bottom cover on and give it a test, I suppose. Yeah, let's do that. Okay, so we're somewhere near. Obviously haven't got the top on yet, but let's put that on. So let's just see what this lacing is like now. Nice. It's absolutely fine. So let's press play.
Sunday at 7:50.
And obviously black and white, so blind date. Wow. So yeah, we are all good. So the next thing now is to use the TT-MER to see if we can feed in a signal, a CCAM signal, and test recording, and probably make a test tape while we're about it. Let's crack on. It's been recording for about an hour now, and it's not MrBetaByte. Managed to set the clock on it. This Kramer isn't brilliant. We'll probably see the it's not brilliant. But let's just press stop, rewind a little bit, see what it's like. It's not bad. It's not bad at all. Let's try the pause. That's okay. I mean, it's a 2 heads, so it's not like a C9 with the extra head. I do have to go in there. There we go. Back. Super. Let's try the ×2 for what it's worth. Brilliant. So yeah, really pleased with that. So obviously, let's just stop it a second. CCAM. So yeah, really pleased with that. So I'm going to do some more recording with it, just so I've got a CCAM, French CCAM tape. So yeah, but once that's done, and I'll just give it a couple of other little minor checks, and go back to get them. And yeah, I'm sure I'll be very, very pleased to have this back. It's great. It's lovely. It's seen a bit of life, which is nice, I suppose, in a way. It's been well used, but also well loved. So yeah, let's crack on. So there we have it. Just recording some colour bars. So yeah, thought I'd do a bit of a test tapey type thing on there as well. So this is CCAM standard. This is I suppose you describe it as CCAM West. That's how it was sort of talked about in the day. Primarily used in France, a couple of other areas as well of the world. But this isn't MECAM or MECAM, the Middle East, Eastern version. That is a way of taking a CCAM signal and using PAL circuitry to record that CCAM signal, and they're not compatible. If you put a MECAM tape in here, it will just be black and white. Playback is black and white. So yeah, like I say, it's quite rare to find a true CCAM machine. So it's been great to work on it and have a look at it and get it all up and running. So hope you enjoyed this one, and if you did, a like would be fantastic, and hopefully I will see you in another video. Bye for now.